today. Happy Friday, first of all. You know why it's happy? Because it was the last night of the Democratic convention. We've got that for you, as well as parents being asked to sign forms agreeing not to watch their children's online classes, and much, much more. Coming up next on the news and why it matters. It starts now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by BlazeTV contributor Eric July, back in the house. Thanks for being here, Eric. And Jason Buttrell, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program. Thank you for being here as well. I guess. Jason's here anyway. All right, so finally, it's felt like about 10 million years, but in fact, it's only been a week that we've had this Democrat convention that we've had to watch. Eric, have you?
Absolutely not.
I was going to say, I feel like you're not the type of person to make yourself suffer through that.
I've seen like clips, but you know, there's no way I would just sit there and watch that.
I mean, with social media, you don't
pay me to do that.
I hope the GOP took some serious notes, because that's not how you do it. They
took some notes on how to not run a convention.
If that's, I'm worried because they probably already pre-record, like they did. They pre-recorded this stuff weeks ago. So I don't know any other way to do it. But yeah, it might be. But oh my gosh, awful.
Yeah, well, especially when you consider these are the people who have Hollywood on their side.
Right, this is the best you can do.
Best they could come up with.
I know.
Yeah, very, very bizarre. So speaking of bizarre, we'll show you some of the lowlights. Here is Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld, Elaine from Seinfeld, who joined Andrew Yang to kick off the night and was, I guess it was supposed to be a back and forth, like stand-up routine. I don't know. We'll see what you guys make of it. Watch.
Right now, you can text VOTE to 30330 to learn about all of your voting options and make the best plan for how to vote in your community, wherever you are. An easy way to remember 30330 is that's the year Donald Trump will finally release his tax returns. If we all vote, there is nothing Facebook, Fox News, and Vladimir Putin can do to stop us.
So it's very weird. She goes on and she does this back and forth with Andrew Yang, like I said, but like there's no laugh track, there's no piped in laughter. There's just complete silence. It's very, very awkward. Did you see any of these highlights of her, Eric?
Yeah, I saw a lot of it.
I say highlights, I'm sorry, lowlights.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it, of course, and we saw like, I saw people commenting saying it was like cringy and all of that, but it does show like kind of how, when you deal with entertainment, there's a lot of things that go into it as opposed to, when you see what the end game, that's all you see. But I think what this virus has shown us, it certainly has with me, with a lot of these entertainers that were doing their own shows, like shows from home. Maybe they don't have the same writers. Maybe they don't have, that creative capacity that they had before. And it shows like these guys aren't as talented as I initially thought. And when they don't have the laugh tracks, when they don't have the audience, it's just like the atmosphere. It's like, wait a minute, like this isn't really that good. And they're not that creative, actually. So I think that's what it highlights for me. But to be fair, that it wasn't just this convention that did it. I was saying, again, all these other guys definitely know the typical. They're all the same. Those late night talk show hosts or what have you. They do their shows from home, and it's like you see clips of those, and like, this is absolutely terrible,
horrible.
This is terrible. Like these guys aren't really that good.
I was actually getting kind of excited when I saw Julie Louis-Dreyfus come out, because I was like, I get it, because the DNC knows this has sucked. So what they're now going to do is pull her out there, and she's just going to do the Elaine kick dance for 2 hours straight. That would have been great. The whole thing, they would have redeemed themselves. It would have been awesome. No, it's like, I remember I worked in Hollywood on a movie set. It was a comedy, and the director was a very well-known comedic director. And he said, you'll notice when they do jokes, they have like a gazillion cameras set around, and they're just pointed at the other people, because comedy is all about reaction. And you cannot do that in this setting. There's no one to react to it. But even if they had, these jokes were just stupid. They sucked. It's like, I don't know.
Really bad.
I think they were trying to pull out everything they could think of to try to appeal, to this audience that I don't know.
What audience?
I know, like, well, I guess
no one was watching.
The 12
except
people,
us schmucks who have to do it for our job.
There was like 100,000 people, like on average, watching that once it kind of ramped up.
Yeah.
And then, like, we have like paywall shows here at the Blaze, and we have tons more viewers than they do. And this
Behind
is the DNC.
Yeah.
I don't. The biggest thing for me on the DNC, because I had to suffer through it, was the huge contrast between the caucuses. In the early part of the day, and the actual primetime, presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the caucuses, that was like closer to the policy that they're going after. So, abolishing the police, abolishing ICE, abolishing prisons, stuff like that, letting, men compete in women's sports. I mean, seriously, like the craziest stuff that they're talking about was all during the day. In the evening, it was nothing. It was just like, we hate this guy. We do not like this guy. He's got, he's orange and we hate him. And that's what their campaign is sold on right now. Get to policy. Like, that's something the GOP can learn from. Get to policy within your campaign. Tell us how you're going to make things better. Tell us how you're going to get out of our lives so that we can do our thing. That's what I want to hear.
Well, Joe Biden, of course, he gave his acceptance speech, and the mainstream media was just fawning all over him. But Jason, you mentioned getting to policy. Joe Biden did just a little bit, at least with a national mask mandate. Here is what he had to say on that. Watch.
As president, the first step I will take will be to get control of the virus that has ruined so many lives. Because I understand something this president hasn't from the beginning. We will never get our economy back on track. We will never get our kids safely back in schools. We'll never have our lives back until we deal with this virus. The tragedy of where we are today is it didn't have to be this bad. Just look around. It's not this bad in Canada or Europe or Japan or almost anywhere else in the world. And the president keeps telling us the virus is going to disappear. He keeps waiting for a miracle. Well, I have news for him. No miracle is coming. We lead the world in confirmed cases. We lead the world in deaths. Our economy is in tatters, with Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American communities bearing the brunt of it. And after all this time, the president still does not have a plan. Well, I do. If I'm your president, on day one, we'll implement the national strategy I've been laying out since March. We'll develop and deploy rapid tests with results available immediately. We'll make the medical supplies and protective equipment that our country needs. And we'll make them here in America, so we will never again be at the mercy of China or other foreign countries in order to protect our own people. We'll make sure our schools have the resources they need to be open, safe, and effective. We'll put politics aside. We'll take the muzzle off our experts so the public gets the information they need and deserve. Honest, unvarnished truth. They can handle it. We'll have a national mandate to wear masks, not as a burden, but as a patriotic duty to protect one another.
A lot of inaccuracies in that part of his speech. But Eric, I feel like a lot of what he was saying about President Trump not having a plan was just kind of President Trump respecting the Constitution and realizing that a lot of this falls on the states and that it's not up to him as the leader of the executive branch federally to do all of these national mask mandate things that Joe Biden is talking about.
This is why when they, and by they I mean mainstream leftist, progressive Democrats, whatever you want to call them, when they act like they are anti-authoritarian or anti-government in any sense, it's a complete fraud.
Yeah.
They want him to be a dictator. And if there's one thing that I can give him to his credit in some capacity is that there wasn't a lot that came from the federal government. He didn't use it more so his executive power to try to do something like that, whether it be a mask mandate, a national mandate. A lot of that stuff came from the states, be it some being Republican, Abbott. Nonetheless, it didn't come from him. But what they wanted, and we saw this happening back I mean, March, April, when this stuff started to sort of ramp up, when you had the Chuck Schumers of the world, the Bernie Sanders actually advocating that we get Korean wartime, more so laws back on the books to really hijack factories, because of this was back when the whole ventilator thing, I know they got swept under the rug, that kind of went away. But this was back when they thought that it was proper for them to hijack the factories of private businesses so they can use them to make this sort of equipment that they feel like they need. These guys are complete authoritarian, and they have absolutely no problem implementing that, and that's actually what they wanted from him. Now, of course, he's being inaccurate when he talks about we have the most confirmed deaths. If you look at deaths per million, no, America is not number one. There are like 5 countries, and in fact, that are, and all of them have lockdowns, mask mandates. You know, the Belgians, the Frances of the world, they have, the Italy's of the world, they have higher deaths per million. Yes, of course, if you go by number, because we're more heavily populated than them, of course we do. Nonetheless, there are plenty of countries that have these mask mandates, that have these laws, and then they're right now going through more surges and stuff when they try to, let's say, let people out, and then they spread it everywhere because they've been trapped, and then they come, oh, we got to lock it down again. So what he's saying, and it doesn't even mean anything. He's not saying anything of substance. He's saying like, we'll do this. It's all generic. How he's going to do it, of course, he doesn't ever have to ever say that. Because he's just talking generically. So he's lying. Yeah. We know he's lying, but I want the people to pay attention to the fact that absolutely these guys are authoritarian and have no problem being authoritarian. So when they go this whole even with the cop thing, I'll try to get conservatives to understand these guys, they just talk out of their, you know what, when they act as if this whole defund the police, that's a complete fraud. They have no issue using some sort of police force. They may not call it that, maybe the woke police, as we talked about that here before, but they have no issue using the federal police, be it state and local police, to do what it is that they want to do. So it's not like they're anti-authoritarian or anything. It's just they want them to do what they want them to do. That's all.
Jason.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Erica. And the crazy thing is that people don't recognize that anymore. They don't recognize that these are authoritarian policies. So you can say this at the national convention for this party, and they're like, oh, yeah, you do that. Yeah, he can do a national mask mandate. No, he cannot. Right. And if he did, then I don't know what we would do, but I mean, I guess it would get struck down in the courts, I would assume.
And same people calling Trump a fascist every chance they get.
Unbelievable.
Right, his words have no meaning. Words have no meaning. And what's funny to me about this is, that everything is this is just like empty promises. I mean, look at the time frame, right? So we're in August. So what, 5-6 months later, after he finally, if he would win, he would finally get into power. So 6 months later, then he's gonna do this stuff? Like, we don't even know what the state.
That's true. I didn't even think
going to be burnt out by
that.
then.
I didn't even think about it.
Why are we going to need masks by that point?
Yeah.
I mean, we're already seeing declines in places like Florida. Like, it's starting to burn itself out, just like in many other countries where you always see them say, "Oh, look."
Maybe that's how a virus
That's how it works.
Like it's having no deaths right now.
Right. I mean, so this is just bullcrap politics. That's all that is.
And did you notice too that it was like he was using getting kids back to school as the carrot that he wants to dangle over the people's.
The economy. He rather hold that hostage.
Exactly. But he's like, well, we'll finally be able to reopen schools once I get this thing under control. Like, every expert in this has said that schools should already be open. So why would it be up to Joe Biden to get our kids back to school?
Well, again, this is why I say that obviously y'all know how I feel about public schools. I'm pretty sure everybody at home knows how I feel about it now.
You love them.
Yeah, fantastic. Right? But no, like they hold your kids hostage, they hold the economy hostage. And this is what frustrates me the most about these politicians and these government officials that talk about this. They say like, well, once we do this, we can then go do that. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. That was never your decision to make. It's never your right to even make that decision. You don't get to hold everybody hostage and say, well, we can go get back to work. And he's saying, oh, the economy's in tatters. Like wait, y'all did that.
Yes.
Y'all did that. That's on y'all.
And they want it to be worse.
Yeah, exactly.
They were predicting 37% unemployment. That's like what they were predicting. And when we started opening back up, they were like, oh, now even the Fed, I just saw the Fed like 2 weeks ago, so they need to reshut everything down. So how can they criticize the current administration for the state of the economy right now? This is all what they want to do, and it could be a lot worse. Thank God it's not.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. Sadly, America's students are caught up in the politics of coronavirus, and now their education hangs in the balance, just as we were talking about. And it's not just them. It's so many people. They're caught up in this, and they're being held hostage by the left. But to support the next generation of freedom-loving Americans, Patriot Mobile is running a school days promotion until September 12th. You have until September 12th. You can choose either a free phone or a free month of service when you switch to America's only conservative cell phone carrier. That is Patriot Mobile. Instead of charging hidden fees and funding left-wing propaganda, Patriot Mobile will donate a portion of your bill to Students for Life, so you can know that your money is going to not only a conservative organization that is a small company that you want to support, but also a company that shares your values, supports our Constitution, and puts people before profits. Now, it's 2020. Switching is very easy. You can keep your phone number. You can bring over a phone if you'd like to, or you can buy a new one, whatever your heart desires. You can go to patriotmobile.com/news. Use the promo code news, by the way, whenever you go there, and choose a free month of service or a free phone. By the way, veterans and first responders, it's Friday and I cannot speak apparently. You guys are going to save even more, veterans and first responders. So make sure you go to patriotmobile.com/news. That is patriotmobile.com/news, promo code news. Wrapping up the last night of the Democratic National Convention, Joe Biden's speech. He wants to make sure, we've heard this, I think every night at least one person has made sure to mention this is a life-changing election. Life-changing election. I thought that was last election.
Before that, too.
Right, that's true. That's true. Now, I feel a little bit hypocritical because I would say on the other side of it, it could be life-changing if we let the radical left get a hold of the United States right now as a country. But it is interesting coming from the same people who in 2016 said that Donald Trump was going to ruin every last shred of what we had left of America. You see what he did with it before coronavirus hit. We were great. And now all of a sudden it's a life-changing election again. So it's interesting. But here is a little bit more of Joe Biden, of course, being the one last night to remind everyone this is a life-changing election. And he explains a little bit why that is. Watch.
This is a life-changing election. This will determine what America is going to look like for a long, long time. Character is on the ballot. Compassion is on the ballot. Decency. Science, democracy, they're all on the ballot. Who we are as a nation, what we stand for, and most importantly, who we want to be, that's all on the ballot. And the choice could not be more clear.
All of those things on the ballot, Eric, and the choice could not be more clear.
Well, he mentioned democracy, and this is what trips me out about, people when it comes to these elections, is that they say the person that they generally hate is a threat to our democracy. I'm like, that's giving them a compliment because democracy is not a good thing. I know there's going to be people at home that say, oh, we're a republic, not a democracy. And I totally understand what you're saying. But this idea that we put all of this, doesn't matter what it is, all the fluffy words that he uses, let's even assume that was remotely true. I wish people would understand, and I don't really care where you're at on this side of the debate or political positions, where you swing. There's an issue if you consider that this amount of power is relying upon an election, and it really doesn't matter if it's at the state, local, federal level or anything. And it frustrates me as a libertarian. Definitely see all this crap go down for the last 6 months as a libertarian, because it's like, I'm trying to get people to see like what the problem is. Like there are these institutions that have entirely too much power, and we get scared, we get freaked out when let's say our enemy gets a hold of it. And I'm more like, well, why do they have that power in the first place? Why are they able to do what they are able to do with that? And we don't have a conversation about it because everybody, no matter what side they're on, they're like, well, hey, when I get it, I'm going to do this for you. And I'm like, I don't want you to do anything for me. I want you to get the hell out of my way. Where's the politician? I mean, maybe Ron Paul was the last one, and we saw what they did to him. Yes, I'm going to bat for Ron Paul. But no, seriously, this power that these guys have, and we put so much stock in the presidency. You know, even when Obama was in, you see those leftists like, oh, it's great. All this is executive action that he's doing. It's fantastic. He's trying to help the country. And then Trump gets that power, and they're like, oh my God. What's going to happen? Like,
it's like using his power.
Look at the precedent that you guys had set. And I just wish America would see that. I know a lot of you guys have that authoritarian bone in your body, and you just can't resist to try to control other people's lives. But you're seeing that's a problem. Don't look at the power in a context of if the guy that you like has it. Look at it like, what if the guy that you hate gets it?
Yeah, great point, Jason.
They're going all in on, and that was pretty much the entire convention. It wasn't, again, like I said, anything about policy. It was just like, this guy's bad, and Joe Biden is such a great, likable dude. And he's definitely a great politician. I'll give Joe Biden that, or he used to be.
He was.
He used to be. But how many times have we seen him cuss his constituents out, or people at rallies get riled up to the point of it looks like he wants to fight them?
Challenges them to a push-up
Challenges
contest.
them, like all these things. Not to mention using his family to enrich, the entire family, whether it be in China, places like Ukraine. Like, these are dirty things that I think politicians across the spectrum do.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe Biden is the only one right now. I think probably a lot of politicians were pissed off at Joe, saying, dude, what are you doing? This was our cash cow.
Right.
Yeah, keep it on the down low, brother. Keep it on the down low. So the fact that he's just this great, wholesome dude is hilarious. It's laughable. We know Trump is not, right? We know that he gets down just like, any other politician does at this point.
But Trump, at least, I feel like he doesn't try to hide that. Right, like he is what he is, and he doesn't try to be someone that he's not.
Right. That's why Bernie Sanders is almost likable in the fact that he doesn't try to hide it. He's like, hey,
I'm an ideologue.
I'm a communist, and take it or leave it. You know.
Yeah.
About the power stuff. That's a whole other conversation. I think is really important, because usually I would say it doesn't matter who the president is. Everyone freaks out and it's like, oh my gosh, the president. Our leader, I hate to break this to everyone, is the weakest head of state in any other country. And he was built
to be that.
He was built that way. It really was.
But haven't you seen, though, an increase in...
That was my next point.
Okay,
that was my very next point, is that they're giving the executive more power.
Yeah.
And Congress is like, whatever, hey, like the DACA stuff. Like,
they don't want to be on record.
They don't want to vote for it. So then they give the power to the executive, and now it's just like, what was the last thing where they were like, the president doesn't have the right to do that? And then McEnany came on and was like, well, actually, because Obama did this, he set the precedent. So the power is growing there. And I'm getting very nervous going into the future, because, even in the Senate, in the House, pretty soon they're going to get rid of certain safeguards that the founders put there to stop an authoritarian from coming into power. They're already talking about getting rid of the the filibuster.
Yes.
Already talking about getting rid of that. The nuclear option is probably going to be the norm going forward, because their constituents are like, hey, we're pissed off that you never get anything done.
Yeah.
Finally, get something done. We don't care what you have to do at the Electoral College. Get rid of it. They're already talking about that. We know they want to do that. So how many of these things are going to go away before we just don't recognize our country anymore?
Yeah.
That we're moving in that direction slowly but surely.
Yeah. So Joe Biden, obviously he was able to speak coherent sentences for longer than 10 seconds, and mainstream media fawned all over him. I know I saw Van Jones, who came out and actually, they're saying the quiet parts out loud now. He actually said, well, we were prepared to come out here and cheer him on, not expecting him to be able to give a great speech like that. But hey, look at that. He actually gave a good speech. So now that we can really say this, totally admitting that they were prepared to carry Joe Biden's water, regardless of whether or not he did a good job. But there was also this moment where apparently the Biden campaign, now we were talking off air, it's unclear where these reporters were, if they were in the live hall recall where it was happening, Joe Biden's speech, or if they were gathered somewhere else watching this. But a gaggle of reporters in the same spot, and they were told by the Biden campaign that Joe Biden would be available for questions afterward, but you do not want to miss the firework display happening right after his speech. Here's a little bit of what that looked like. Oh my God, hurry. You don't want to, oh, hurry, run.
Squirrel?
Squirrel? You don't want to miss the fireworks. Oh, hurry. You've never seen fireworks in your life before, I guess. All of these adults, genuine grown-ass adults, running to go see fireworks. Like, you could not make this up if you tried. If that is not a perfect representation of journalism in America in 2020, I don't know what is. You could ask questions, or you could just go watch the fireworks, Eric.
It's journalism, but it's like this cultism also surrounding like political campaigns, and it's disgusting. Like, it just makes my stomach turn how people fawn over these, the actions of political campaigns and politicians as if they're they do is just, godlike. And this is, I know a lot of those people that are on that side act as if they are anti, at least religious in some capacity, maybe not, maybe Christianity, let's say that. But they're not. They just replace that with the state. And this is why I call them stateists, because that's what they are.
Yeah. Jason, last word.
Absolutely insane. If you watch any other politician on the other side, anybody on the right, if they say something there's a press conference or there's reporters there, they are so obnoxiously rude. They will not let him answer a question. They will not let them end without shouting. Even Acosta, refusing to release the microphone, stuff like that. They are burning to get their gotcha question in there because that's their moment to shine. Yeah. The journalists, they think they're the stars. They make the news, they make it up, and they're the ones to present it, and they're the great, superstar. But in this case, like they're not even. Not only are they not asking tough questions, they're majorly softball questions. They're completely letting Joe Biden stay in his basement.
Yeah.
How? Like, would they let Trump do that?
No.
Of course not.
Way.
No.
And he said, "Oh, quick, go, look at the fireworks," and then he watched them, leave, and he would run off in the other direction. That's what happened.
Well, and they would lead all of the 10 o'clock news shows with, well, Donald Trump attempted to get us to, change course and attempted to redirect us, but we didn't fall for it. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, as Jason pointed out, squirrel.
Go chase a squirrel.
All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. If you are one of millions of Americans, you are maybe living in pain. Maybe you're like me, you screwed up your back, and they're like, we want to give you an injection. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, because that is actually just masking what the root problem is. It may cover it up for a little bit, but then they want you to keep coming back and getting injections while not treating the root cause of your pain. Let me tell you something. Omega XL will, whether it's back, knees, neck, shoulder pain, the underlying cause is oftentimes inflammation in your body, and you have to treat the inflammation, or not only will you just be masking it and it won't go away, but it could cause permanent damage. Omega XL is backed by 35 years of clinical research, and they attack inflammation that is causing your pain. So you're not just masking it with, a pain reliever or a topical cream that you rub on your pain spot, and you're like, wow, that feels good for 20 minutes, and then I'm right back to feeling like crap. Omega XL is going to neutralize that inflammation that is causing your pain. Get to the root cause. There is no reason to live in pain in 2020. And trust me, I understand what it does to your life. It affects every part of your life. You're grumpy all the time. You're dealing with aches and pains and stiffness, and maybe you lash out at your spouse because you just don't feel good. Let's get you started on Omega XL. You can feel better. Order Omega XL now and get a second bottle for free. You can go to omegaxl.com/news. That is omegaxl.com/news. Back in a minute. The Tennessee Star is reporting that Rutherford County Schools are actually asking parents to sign forms agreeing not to monitor their child's virtual classrooms. And by the way, if you do choose to violate that agreement, it may result in removing the child from class. Yes, removing the child from the class because the parent has the audacity to, as the parent of the child, check up on what is going on in their child's classroom. And it's not just this county. I've seen these kinds of reports popping up all over the country right now with all of these virtual classes that we're doing, remote learning that we're doing. There was even a tweet that went viral from an educator who actually, again, they're saying the quiet parts out loud, who actually tweeted it would be much harder to teach all of these children about all of their socialist radical ideology with gender and climate change and everything else, with the parents actually able to monitor their children's progress and their children's education. Eric, I have a feeling you have a little bit of something on this.
Yeah. Hey, how many times have I said on this show that the public education and really education system in general is just is rotten. It's been rotten. And yes, they are saying the silent parts out loud, and it is more so they're taking off the mask and what this is. This is, look, I know people get frustrated. I know there's probably teachers that watch this, but.
And they're not all bad. Can we point that out?
No, but
we're not saying all teachers are bad, but it's the system.
Yeah, and that's why I call it an indoctrination camp. I know people don't like me to say that. They think I'm dramatizing it, but no, that's what it is. That's what it is. And this is why I said if we got rid of it as it exists right now, the teachers that are good would have absolutely no issues finding any jobs or anything like that. But there are a lot of people, and the way this system is set up is that it's where they're molding your kids, and this is why they don't want you to be mindful of what's going on. It's not that it gets in the way of the teaching. It's like, well, they're going to have a lot of questions about this weird thing that I might say, and maybe the parents are like, well, I know that's wrong. Why are you teaching my kids this? And they don't want that because, again, they think they have the rights to your kids. They think they own your kids, and they don't see themselves as like it's not a service in which they're trying to educate them. It's more so, no, we want you to have these positions, certainly from a political and social point. We want you to know about this and obviously take that into your adulthood. That's a problem. And look, I've said here on the show as well, there's plenty of time when you look at all of these young folk that are out here acting a fool. And they have been definitely post George Floyd and doing things that have absolutely nothing to do with liberating black people or anything like that. You have to look at the institution that they've been funneled through more so to understand why they act the way that they act. You don't look. I don't care where you're at. Definitely with libertarian, conservative, you're not going to address this issue going into the future until you address that public education system. And what a lot of people are seeing now, thank God, because of this craziness, they're seeing how rotten it actually is, how rotten the teachers are, how rotten these unions are, and how they try to control and indoctrinate your kids. That's a problem. And I hope that the individuals, definitely all of us that, all of you that have kids, are seeing how rotten it actually is.
Yeah. And Jason, just to just try this one on for size, the spokesman of the school district or the county system said that they are aware of the concern that's been raised. The intent was definitely not to prevent parents from being involved with their children during distance learning, but it was intended to protect the academic privacy of the other students who are visible during certain virtual class sessions. Oh, I'm totally sure that is the reason why they just want to protect the academic privacy of the other kids.
Yeah, bull crap. Bull crap. I've been researching something that we're going to release next Wednesday on Glenn's show. And it's all about this. You mentioned teachers unions have a huge deal with this. The National Education Association is the largest teachers union. It's the largest union, period, in the entire country. It's basically just a Democrat clearinghouse. It's a Democrat. Yeah. That's all their causes, all the politicians. That's where they give all of their money to. I don't want to go too far into it, but the origins of this, the guy that was declared their lifetime president, who's dead now, but he was part of the Frankfurt School, a cultural Marxist organization Columbia, I believe. I think in Columbia. Yeah, they're absolutely insane with the total goal of changing the way your child views the world, tearing down capitalism, hypersexualization. They're the ones that push to get sex education in schools. I mean, it's crazy just what they've been doing for the past decades. It's going into overdrive now. I have 2 document dumps, leaks that I was given. One is from California. The other one started in New York, but I've traced it all over the country. And I think this is why they're hiding a lot of this stuff, because they've been trained on how to sneak these things in so that individual teachers can, they talk about like racial justice, and Black Lives Matter. They're the ones that are putting this on. They're the ones that put all this curriculum together. But it hardly has anything to do with Black lives. Seriously, they're teaching, so one course that they're trying to teach, like junior high and elementary school students on the Black Panther Party. And how, what is, when they say, they want to give back to the poor, what system does that sound like? These are almost direct quotes.
They were Lenin.
Exactly. They're trying to teach Marxism. Yeah. That's to little kids. I found a elementary school poster, and it's like this trans action or whatever. And it shows someone shows a child somehow with whiskers, almost the size of your beard, wearing a dress. This is supposed to go into an elementary school. It's an elementary school.
And I will tell you, our friend Jakob Bujans, he was on yesterday, a good friend of the show and a friend of mine personally. He has exposed a lot of this as well, that they're teaching elementary school students how to masturbate.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Like, see, it'd be one thing if, like, you mentioned like the economic part, and I say this probably, I'm not trying to brag about me being the youngest person at the table. I'm just saying I was at.
Sure. No, it's fine. It's fine, Eric.
No,
don't worry about it.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. But
Can we get a second kiddie table next time Eric is in the house?
But no, like, it wasn't that long ago. I was actually in high school, and like, it'd be one thing if there was balance about that type of stuff that they are teaching you, definitely when it comes to these different political stuff. It'd be one thing if that was the case, but it's not. You're gonna think you're gonna learn about Austrian economics or Murray Rothbard or even Friedman from the Chicago School or Thomas Sowell in these schools? Absolutely not. But you'll know about everybody from the FDR, Keynesians, and all of this stuff going all the way up through high school. So it'd be one thing if there was any balance there, but it's a clear bias. They like to pretend that it doesn't exist, but of course it's a actual bias in that regards. And even with some of the black leaders, I mean, they're not gonna tell you like get to the nitty gritty when it comes to Malcolm X. You're not gonna learn about the nitty gritty, the differences between W.E.B. Du Bois or Booker T. Washington, which is a very valuable, the Frederick Douglasses of the world. They don't teach you that type of stuff. It clearly is slanted one way, and it'd be one thing if it was balanced when it came to this education, but that's why you have to pay attention to it, because it's indoctrination in that regard.
How sad is that? You bring up Booker T and Du Bois. I thought it was Du Bois. I never know how to say it.
Du Bois, I said Du Bois, yeah.
They now write about Du Bois, whatever. They write about him more,
of course,
and not Booker T.
Of course, and there's a reason for that. That separation exists. There's a similar separation between Malcolm X and as well as Martin Luther King Jr. Like, that stuff has existed among a lot of black leaders over the course of human history. They do not teach you that. Well, of course, of American history, they don't teach you that, because it's almost that divide between the guys that are more independent in terms of an economic, teaching you how to teach yourself, as opposed to this more socialistic mind.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, if you want to watch the video of Jakob Bujans exposing all of this, what's going on in the school districts, you can go to his Instagram. I know he has it on his Instagram page. I also reposted it on my Instagram story if you'd like to go watch it. Back in a minute. A mother and her 6 children were booted from a JetBlue flight this week because the 2-year-old refused to wear a mask in accordance with the airline's policy. There is a video. We don't have time to show it, but it's showing the mom pleading with the airlines to please let them continue on the flight. She tried to put the mask on her child, who was she had a pacifier in her mouth and kept refusing to put them. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a 2-year-old, but like, if the 2-year-old doesn't want to wear the mask, the 2-year-old's not going to wear the frickin' mask.
Can't get them to do anything.
No.
It's just on their face.
Their favorite word is no, and they're not going to do it if they don't want to do it. So she ultimately was kicked off of the flight. The captain ordered every passenger to get off the plane, and then they were eventually able to catch a flight home 5 hours later through United Airlines because they wouldn't allow this family back on. JetBlue says during these unprecedented times, our first priority is to keep crew members and customers safe. And we've quickly introduced new safety policies and procedures throughout the pandemic, including these masks. And, I said this, we were supposed to take a trip, actually, a family trip over the summer. And I said, I'm not doing that because there's no way that they're not going to learn after a couple months that, like, you can't do this to kids. You cannot force young children to wear a mask the entire flight. They're not going to do it. Apparently, I mean, it's almost September and we are still going through this.
I thought that at one point they said that the kids shouldn't be wearing the mask.
They're going to touch it and touch everything else. They're going to spread more germs.
Terrible idea, but I just can't think of why they try to have these sort of plans in these like hot boxes, which is basically what an airplane is. Yeah. Where everybody's circulating all of this. Is like if there was one place that you're gonna get, you're gonna get it. But hey, the mask gives everybody this false sense of protection. Screw what the damn sign says. It's giving people this false sense of security. More so, and this cultism has unfortunately impacted a lot of different industries and businesses, and it's just that we're going through the motions. That's all we're doing.
I did catch a flight this summer on a short little vacation, and so we went to the airport. They make you stand 6 feet apart from each other, wear the mask, all that stuff. But the moment you get into the plane, I got seats, one at the window, one on the outside for me and my wife. I was like, oh, because they're not going to have us be able to sit together. Well, we get there and there's a guy sitting in the middle seat. I was like, what are you doing, bro? Yeah. You know, like, get at it. This is our aisle.
Cram you in like sardines
once
you're in the plane.
So it's all for looks.
Arbitrary,
it's all for looks. You have to stand 6 feet apart and all the stuff out there, wear your mask, but you cram together. Like, they're not thinking about health. Yeah. They're just appearances. That's all they're worried about.
Well, the family is hiring an attorney and plans to file a federal lawsuit against the airline over the incident. And I say, more power to them. I hope that they are successful because I don't think that this will truly go away until we start seeing these lawsuits, especially when you're talking about there are some people with medical issues. I know we saw Glenn had on radio. There was a dad who tried to take the family to Disney, and was it a daughter? Autistic daughter, I think it was a daughter, but autistic child would not wear a mask and they refused to allow this family in. The family could not, they spent all this money and could not get into Disney because they would not wear the mask. I mean, that's medical discrimination. We're doing it every day right now in this country and nobody seems to care.
Yeah, I saw some people coming down on Disney kind of hard for it. I don't want to vilify Disney too much because at least they're one of the organizations or companies that are actually trying to open up. Some people are still just like, they're so scared of what might happen that they're just not opening up, and thousands of jobs are still not being worked. Yeah. So I applaud them for actually opening up.
But you got to do it the right way.
Yeah,
what they discriminate against the medically fragile community.
What they should do is they should offer a day just for children like that or people like that.
I think that's a slippery slope. Jason. We gotta take a break, otherwise I'd be duking it out with you right now. Back in a minute.
No, I think that'd be a good gesture. They let them go in for free, free day for that.
Yesterday's poll, what will be the most important issue in the debates? Oh my gosh, we have debates coming up soon. The economy won this one at 67.5%, followed by COVID, followed by racism, which is hilarious. 11.8% of you said racism will be the most important issue in the debates, which is interesting. Very interesting considering there isn't any systemic racism there is systemic racism in what maybe the abortion industry and other things of that nature, but not the kind of systemic racism that the Democrats like to say that we have in this country. Today's poll, did you watch any of the 2020 Democratic National Convention? Yes or no? It'll be interesting to see if these line up with the general public. I know the viewership was like way down this year.
48% or something like that.
48% lower than the last one.
Mm-hmm. They're in trouble. They don't think that they're probably in trouble, but they're in trouble. Like, I want to be very clear about that. Those guys are in trouble.
I mean, they should have realized in 2016, parading around a bunch of celebrities.
It doesn't work. Not anymore. Like, so I didn't watch anything, though.
Yeah, we know.
That's for sure.
I was forced to.
Yeah.
I was forced to.
Did you? How much did you drink?
Oh gosh, heavily. I tweeted that actually. There's Tito's vodka right there on the table.
I didn't get to do that this time around.
That's true.